Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Hello, welcome to the COB. I'm Juliette Sarli. Well, what a Wednesday. We'll discuss the semantics, if you will, of whether or not it's a ceasefire in a moment with our guest, Mark Gardner from MPC Markets. But nevertheless, this reprieve that we saw coming through at the 11th hour between the US and Iran has sent investors pressing the buy button. Let's have a look at where the local market is as we round out the day's trade. The CBO 200 there up by 2.8%, a similar gain on the S&P ASX 200. The biggest gain in a year after the US and Iran agreed to this 2-week ceasefire. Oil prices tumbling, giving markets a respite from a lot of the turbulence that we've seen over the last 6 weeks. Now, we talk a lot about how much has been wiped off the benchmark's capitalization. Well, worth pointing out today was $80 billion was added, and that has helped a lot considering that we've seen about 9% or $300 billion wiped off markets over the last 6 weeks. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese this afternoon has also welcomed the reprieve between the US and Iran and Israel, saying it's a positive step that should hopefully lead to permanent de-escalation. However, he did criticize US President Donald Trump's earlier threats to wipe out Iranian civilization and attack civilian infrastructure. Let's have a look at the market map now. It just really shows you the overall theme as you saw that weakness coming through in energy, well, oil, I should say, falling below $100, having its biggest drop in 6 years. The energy sector down 7.5% today. There was a lot of solid buying though coming through in IT, up 7.5%, material stocks up by almost 5%, consumer discretionary saw a tight, small rebound in consumer confidence, but remember it's still at the second lowest level on record according to the ANZ Roy Morgan survey. Industrials, financials, REITs also looking solid. So that gets us to our themes of the day, and it really has been this ceasefire surge. CBA now expecting the war to end in May, earlier than its previous base case estimate of June, following a 2-week ceasefire between the US and Iran that was announced, of course, today. Also, the crude crash, Brent down by about 13%, now around $95 a barrel, so having its biggest plunge in 6 years, and the Aussie dollar leaping to above 70 US cents, gold also rising. Let's have a quick look at the energy players amidst that fall coming through in crude oil. Santos off by 4.5%, Woodside Energy down more than 10%, Karoon off by about 14%. The miners, they had a very, well, there's the tech players, I should say, but the miners also had a really good session. The tech we touched on as well. Quick look at where the banks are as well this afternoon. And then in company news, DroneShield tumbling after Chief Executive Oleg Vornik resigned. The company announcing that Chair Peter James will retire next month, 5 months after the pair dumped their holdings in the company, which really did trigger a crisis in investor confidence. Now, I spoke to Oleg Vornik about a month ago, and he indicated he still very much, believed in the company. That was purely to settle a tax bill. So kind of interesting timing here, but Pro Medicus elsewhere up by about 8.5%, signing a 5-year, $23 million contract in the US. Flight Centre advancing. This was amidst a rebound in all travel stocks, but also it's going to sell its 47% stake of Pedal Group, the owner of the nation's biggest bike retailer. Magellan also in focus after it reported assets under management, and then Santos as well dropping, but it did say it expects to recommence production at its Barossa gas plant in around April 18, I should say. All right, let's welcome to the COB Mark Gardner from MPC Markets. Now you say not a ceasefire.
No, well, technically it's not. They're negotiating. But it's I think one of them has put a 2-week operational pause. But it was really well played. I was actually in the office as this was playing out, and it was almost genius from President Trump to basically Pakistan actually asked for the ceasefire. He then went on air and accepted a ceasefire. And was pretty loose with the details, and then Iran then came with a 10-point plan. I think it wasn't until 9:30 or 9 a.m. So, however, because we all want this over, I'm sure the Iranian people do, the US does, we all want fuel prices back down. So, however he got there, at least they're at the table now. The 10-point plan is going to be near impossible. I mean, there's probably Strait of Hormuz coordination and reopening, and maybe some form of fee to go through there. As a general rule, Middle East, over the last 20 odd years, Middle East ceasefires almost 100% strike rate of falling over. But you've obviously got Israel, Gaza skewing that. But, we're 35 odd percent that talks collapse, 25% Hormuz only agreement, really 10% or less on a full 10-point agreement, because look, Israel's not particularly happy, but they've had to, I guess, suck it up as a bit of a passenger in this, because Trump had basically announced that this was going to happen. I think any opportunity for the US just to get the hell out of there and try to salvage something out of the midterms is probably the plan, realistically.
Yeah, well, I think Kai, your colleague, put it well earlier. It's the art of the deal, isn't it? So, I mean, a lot of people have made some good money today. Where would you be looking or not looking? Because there's probably still quite a bit more to run.
Well, look, if we have another day like today, we're nearly at record highs.
Yeah.
So, in all things considered, we're nearly out of fuel and the inflation effects that are going to happen. But I mean, we've got US earnings coming up. I'll be looking at some. I'll be sort of going through that with a bit of a fine tooth comb, because I think it's been largely non-earnings based movements for quite some time now, and I think there'll be some diamonds in the rough there. In terms of Australia, I think the energy names have been pretty harshly done by. I mean, we've still got crude at 97 or WTI at 97. Brent's bounced back a little bit. There'll be a break. Like, someone will do something silly at some stage, but I mean, I think this is hugely positive first step. But I don't think it'll be instantly done. So I mean, we sort of pull back, and we're nearly. That was this morning. If peace was declared, just to get back to normal is 37.6 days at full production, and not to mention infrastructure damage, etc. So I think it'll be a bit of a rocky road, but we are certainly, I think it's pretty positive overall for equity markets. I think gold and silver, as you can see today, have bounced back pretty hard. I think it was a bit weird that they initially got sold off in the first place. I think rates will probably start to come down, and we'll start to focus on how much this has dented growth and not be worried about inflation. So you may see some of those growth stocks go up. But I mean, we were very happy buyers in the software sector, which has bounced back today.
Would you buy energy, or would you wait a little bit more for oil to drop even further?
So we were long the oil futures ETF. We sold half yesterday, and that was probably a little bit of luck as well.
Yeah.
And we, at this point, to hedge the rest of the portfolio, we'd be more than likely to be buying back in more than anything else. I think we'll probably range between 90 and maybe 110 on escalation. But I think that it's probably likely now that range is now solidified, rather than, I think this move has really taken that, it could go to $150 kind of off the table. So, but I think both parties needed to find a way to save face and come to the table.
Yeah.
It seems to be achieved. So, fingers crossed that someone doesn't fire a stray missile or something doesn't blow up.
Well, speaking of missiles, I mean, would you be buying Drone Shield at $3.36? So it's such a big move in terms of a C-suite, resignation.
Yeah, I mean, we do tend to trade the range in Drone Shield. A big C-suite movement obviously might be a cause for just a bit of a relook, but we probably prefer, from a value perspective, EOS at these levels. Like, they've actually won more contracts in terms of monetary value, and they're trading at less than half of their market cap. So I think that's how we've been playing. I think that's probably better value, and that. But I think both of those companies, they're getting European contracts. If this situation taught us anything, geopolitics is going to probably attract more spending, not less. Drones can stop, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of missiles. So I think there's going to be a fair bit of spending in that area. So, I would definitely be looking at it. And I think Oleg's done a pretty good job. He's been there 11 years. I think they'll move into the civilian sort of sector as well. And I think it's not a bad space to be in, but it does move around a lot. So probably want to be a little bit careful and go in small size.
All right, well, today was a good day regardless.
It was a good day, yes.
Mark, thank you, as always. Mark Gardner there from MPC Markets on the best day, in fact, on our market in a year. Well, the stock of the day was Pro Medicus, and Mark's colleague Kai Chen from MPC Markets, Rudy Philippek Van Dyke from FN Arena, joined Andrew on the call.
But coming off back to $100, you know, this is a really, really solid company. It has a very good trajectory. It's getting contracts in the US, so the US rollout is actually doing very well, and it's locking in, you know, 5-year to 10-year horizon contracts, which is very positive. So, you know, Pro Medicus is probably one of the top 3 on my picks in Australian tech sector. And, you know, at these prices, I do think it's actually a good place to get. If you aren't involved, I'll be starting to definitely get involved in Pro Medicus.
Pro Medicus will announce more deals and contracts. And I do think this is one of the very few in the market where you can count on the fact that they will do exactly that. They are by no means finished in their expansion. There's so much more to go. Market does what it does, but if there's any tech company in the market, I think where you can buy them at a level that you normally don't see them at, and you can do that with confidence that they, at some point, the market will start paying attention again.
You've worked hard for your money all your life. Now your money needs to work hard for you. Whether you're building, transferring, or drawing down, the right information makes all the difference. At Ausbiz Retire, you'll find the latest news and insights from trusted experts all in one place. Ausbiz Retire is powered by RAN, retirement income done differently.
Well, as I mentioned, the best day on the market in a year, in fact, since those, or that Liberation Day, I should say, from President Trump. Once again, President Trump is the reason behind we have seen such a big move today. Let's have a look at the leaders in today's action. Of course, it was the tech players, the gold players as well. You can see Zip there up 20%, Bellevue Gold up 19%. Also some buying coming back through into some of these consumer discretionary stocks, maybe a little bit more positivity, although we've also still got to pay for our petrol, don't we? But Temple and Webster there up by 14.4%. The laggards in today's session included Drone Shield. On that news, the CEO, Oleg Venek, and the chair are leaving. Defence stocks as well kind of sold off a bit on the ceasefire optimism. And of course, the energy players and the coal players, as well as we saw a big reversal coming through, in particularly crude oil, which is now below 95 US dollars a barrel. Let's have a look at the small end of town. These stocks on your screen did well. Hot Chili up 20%. The laggards in the small end of town included these stocks on your screen, like Terracom, which was down 10.5%. All right, tonight we have the FOMC March meeting minutes, and that's of course the one when they left rates on hold due to everything that was happening in the Middle East. Also, the FOMC's daily speaks. We get Eurozone retail sales, US crude inventories, giving us a big picture into how dire the fuel situation is, and a US 10-year bond auction as well. Tomorrow, nothing much locally, but we do have Japan's preliminary machine orders data too, the fourth quarter US GDP print, which is final, and US unemployment claims. But let's recap where the local market has finished the day's trade, 2.8% higher. And the local market, as I mentioned, having its best session in a year. And I'll just give you a quick look at where the S&P ASX 200 has finished. 223 points, 2.6% higher, 8,951. So getting close to 9,000, and of course very close to an all-time high, just about 2.5% off that. Well, we will be back to see how global markets react to the ceasefire and how that's going to play into our market tomorrow. We'll see you then.